According to the National Geographic Kids website, in South America, Brazil is the largest country and the 5th largest nation in the world. Brazil is a country of home to various types of flora and fauna since the landscape is very varied. It is most well known for its dense and thick forests, including the famous Amazon rainforest. In the north of Brazil, it is dominated by the Amazon River. The river has a network of many hundreds of waterways. The total length of this river stretches to 6,840 kilometers. In the aspect of nature, Brazil has the greatest variety of animals rather than any country in the world. It is believed that the country has around 600 of mammal species, 1,500 species of fish, 1,600 species of birds, and around 100,000 different types of insects. Since Brazil's jungles are home to most of the animal life. Next, the Brazilian people. Most of them are descended from 3 ethnic groups, which is Amerindians, American Indians, Africans, and European settlers that mainly come from Portugal. An interesting fact about Brazilians: they were crazy about soccer since their country has produced some of the best and famous football soccer throughout the age. His name is Edson Arantes do Nascimento, although known him as Pelé. Besides, this country also has won the World Cup soccer finals about 5 times more than any other nation.
Demographic is research based on population that focus on variables such as gender and age, education, income, racial composition, health, religion, and language. Let's start with age and gender in Brazil. In 2018, the population in Brazil was estimated at nearly 209.4 million, of which nearly 74 million is women, along with 72.12 million is men. The woman dominates the main population in category of age 15 to 64, while men only dominate the female population at the category of youngest age group, which is 0 to 14 years. Secondly is education. Children from a rich family typically receive a good education with higher degree, while children in poor family need to obtain employment at early age. Brazil had 2 categories of education. First is a primary and secondary school. There are about 3 to 5 of Brazilians have 4 or fewer years of education, with 9 to 10 kids from age 7 to 14. Second is for higher education. There is a small proportion of Brazilians between age of 18 to 24 have entered university. Third is income. In 2018, a median household in Brazil get an average of $37,992 US. For its racial composition, in Brazil we can find a lot of races such as European immigrant, sub-Saharan African, and a minority of Jews. As of the mid-states of Brazil, we can find Afro-Brazilian, East Asian, and Brazilian of mixed races, while people of African and mixed race origin can be found at Northeast. And the biggest Asian group that we can find in Brazil is Japanese Brazilian. Fifth is health. For a developing country such as Brazil, their health expenditure was a bit lagging. Despite that, Brazil still has to spend about an average of $1,282 US for health project in 2018. Besides that, Brazil has the highest number of clinics and one of the largest healthcare employees in Latin America. However, Brazil has influence in mosquito-borne diseases like dengue and chikungunya, with more than 1.5 million of people in 2019 got infected with them. Sixth is religion. In Brazil, we can find a lot of religions such as Roman Catholic with 64.6%, Protestant and Christian with 24%, 8% of agnostics, atheists or no faith, 2% with Spiritism, and another 1% is follower of other faith. Last but not least, language. As we know, the official language is Brazil is Portuguese. However, we can still find other language in Brazil. For example, in northern Brazil, many American languages are used regularly. German, Polish, Ukrainian, and Russian spoken by descendants of refugees. Moreover, Jewish people use Yiddish along with Hebrew, while at South Pole immigrants can be found use Levantine Arabic, Japanese, Chinese, and even Korean.
Brazil is a city that the people generally think of as a tropical paradise where the people dance and enjoy themselves all day long. Brazil people are mixed by 3 cultures, which are indigenous Indian, African, and Portuguese. Next, they have a class distinction in Brazil, which generally racial inequality based on the amount of money and the color of one's skin, such as the darker brown skin. Furthermore, they show you that the Brazilians are typically tactile people who are very affectionate for greeting, such as the men will shake each other's hands while the women kiss each other's cheeks. Besides that, there are other fascinating levels and standards in the Brazilian culture. For example, they often bring a small gift of thanks to the hostess, such as the glass of wine or some fresh flower. We also must to avoid by the giving a black or purple gift to everyone, since these are used as the mourning shade.
Legal and political. In Brazil, they use a civil law with common law recently being adopted. They also use an organized hierarchically. Furthermore, Brazil is authorized by the federal government, which is known as federal district. Finally, we can form 2 divisions in Brazil legal system, which is ordinary and extraordinary branch.
According to the BBC News article that was written in January 3, 2019, Brazil has the population around 208 million of people that covers the country's area, which is 8.55 meters square kilometer.
There are several main industries in Brazil that have contributed in order to produce their major resources, which are mining and quarrying, agriculture, and manufacturing that Brazil worked on over the years. Mining and quarrying. Most Brazil's mining and quarrying industries consume minerals including iron ore, bauxite, and gold, are concentrated in Minas Gerais and Pará. Moreover, Brazil is a major gold and diamond producer in Minas Gerais. Most gold and diamonds are mined, and smaller quantities are produced in Pará, especially in the vicinity of Serra Pelada, where in the 1980s and 90s. Agriculture. The nation is largely self-sufficient in basic foodstuffs and is a leading exporter of a large variety of crops mostly grown in the south and southeast, including oranges, soybeans, coffee, and cassava. Unlike most Latin American countries, Brazil has increased agriculture production since World War II by significantly expanding its cultivated area, but this expansion has come at serious environmental costs in border areas. Brazil is the world's top coffee producer. It was the country's biggest single export in the early and mid-20th centuries. Soybeans became more valuable revenue source than coffee in the 1990s. Not just that, Brazil nearly 1/3 of the world's orange are cultivated, more than twice the volume produced in the United States, which is the second largest supplier in the world. In addition, Brazil has one of the highest animal population in the world, over 200 million, and regularly slaughters more cattle than the United States. Manufacturing. Manufacturing accounts for nearly 1/5 of GDP and about 1/10 of the population. With a few exceptions in every sector of industries, the Southeast has the largest, most diverse, and most productive establishment. Furthermore, Brazil have been a major world car producer since the mid-20th century, manufacturing almost 2 million vehicles per year.
Next, I will be explain on other resources of Brazil that have contributed to their economic income. The first one is petroleum and some natural gas. Brazil generates much of its petroleum and some natural gas primarily from offshore fields along the continental shelf. They extract more than 2/3 of its petroleum from the Campos Basin on the continental shelf of the state of Rio de Janeiro. Secondly is power. Brazil's total power capacity has expanded rapidly since 1950, mainly through hydroelectricity, which now accounts for 9/10 of the country's electric power. Thirdly is services. Services such as finance, trade, tourism, transportation, roads, railways, shipping and aerospace are included in other resources that contribute income to Brazil. Fourthly is finance. In finance service, it oversees the Central Bank of Brazil, which issues the country's currency, the real. Many states have their own government banks, among which the Bank of Sao Paulo is the most important. Fifthly is trade. As trade in Brazil, China and the United States are Brazil's principal trading partners. Other major trading partners include Germany, the Netherlands, Japan, Italy and South Korea. Next, tourism also included in other resources of Brazil. Tourism is growing industry in Brazil. The country receives some 3 million foreign visitors a year. Tourism sector also known as the biggest contribution to Brazil's economy. Moving on to the next resources of Brazil, which is transportation. Brazil's transportation infrastructure changed dramatically after World War II. First with the growth of air transport and subsequently with extension of a modern road network. By the 1970s, Brazil had the world's third largest commercial air fleet and its roads were developing rapidly. In the 1990s, the country road system was the third longest in the world after the United States and India, and Brazil was among the top 10 countries in automobile registrations. Last but not least is shipping. Shipping also another resources in Brazil. 3/4 of Brazil ships are involved in coastal trade, with the largest proportion of ocean-going vessels owned by Petrobras. Lastly, other resources of Brazil is aerospace. Brazil is second only to French Guiana as a Latin American leader in space exploration. Several Brazilian companies cooperate to design and build launch vehicles and satellites. The country has 3 major airlines: Varig, VASP Transbrasil, and Sao Paulo States Airline.
According to Investopedia website that update on December 2nd, 2019, Brazil is the 9th largest economy in the world and the largest economy in Latin America, with a gross domestic product around $1.87 trillion. So what are kind of economic types that contribute most to Brazil's GDP? The answer is the service sector, because they are the largest sector in Brazil and contribute nearly 70% of the country's GDP. Same goes to agriculture and the industry sector, where they also contribute a substantial amount to Brazil's economic growth. Besides, the major resources of Brazil have been contributed by several main industries, which is mining, quarrying, agriculture and manufacturing, that currently become the major part of industries that work on over the years.